Welcome, everybody. This is our third week already of our 6-week course, Mindfulness, Building the Habit of Presence. And we're going to do a quick practice, a quick pause, and then I am going to open it up to see if you have any comments. Hopefully you've been, kind of taking a look at how it's been going, what your experience has been, maybe even using that record form that I send out to record your practices and what you thought about them. And so I'll give you an opportunity to, just share some of that. You can use the chat, or you can speak up, unmute yourself. I think I've got everybody muted for now, just so it's quiet enough to get going. So, all right. So today we're going to be talking about stress and responding versus reacting and dealing with difficult thoughts. We're actually going to dive more into difficult emotions next week. And so today is more about what's going on with our thinking. And so what we're going to do first is our first practice is going to be our 3-minute breathing space. So it takes about 3 minutes. And this is something that I'm going to be asking you to do throughout this coming week. So you don't have to, find a meditation position. You don't have to close your eyes, but you certainly can if you'd like for this practice. And all we're going to do is we're going to just start by asking ourselves, and becoming aware of how things are in this moment. And if you want to close your eyes and if you want to kind of get into that posture, go right ahead. But bringing your awareness to your inner experience right now and asking yourself, what is my experience right now? Turning inward and kind of noticing what thoughts are going through the mind. As best you can, just simply acknowledge thoughts as mental events. You might label them if it's a to-do list or a worry thought or a memory. You can label them, but just notice what thoughts are going through the mind. And then what feelings are here. Turn toward any sense of discomfort or unpleasant feelings, acknowledging them, but also noticing positive feelings. But what feelings do you notice? What's the mood? And then the third area to check in with is what body sensations are here right now. Perhaps quickly scan the body, pick up any sensations of tightness or tension or folding, or softness and relaxing, just acknowledging any sensations that are here. So that's the first step of becoming aware, thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. Next, we kind of gather our attention and focus on the physical sensations of our breathing. So follow the breath, be aware of the breath moving in and out of the body. If you want to take a deep breath or two, go right ahead. And feel the sensations of the breath, wherever you feel it. Follow the breath all the way in and all the way out, using the breath to anchor yourself in the present. Now expand your field of awareness around the breathing so it includes a sense of the body as a whole, your posture, even your facial expression, and just feel the whole body as it is right here, right now, breathing. And if you become aware of any sensations of discomfort or tension, take your awareness there by breathing into them on the in-breath, and then breathe out from those sensations, softening and opening with the out-breath. And as best you can, bring this expanded awareness to the next moments of your day. And that's it. If you've had your eyes closed, you can open them. That's a 3-minute breathing space. And I'll show you how we're going to use that. It could be done in response to a trigger, something stressful, or it can be done just as a practice. And I'm going to recommend that you do that as a practice because it's just one of those quick exercises that can help us in the moment. So let me just open it up. How's your home practice been going? As you know, we have some formal practices that I've been asking you to try. Last week we did the body scan and mindful movement, maybe even mindful eating, and some informal practices. So I ask you to pay attention informally to pleasant events, but let's start with the formal practices. How did that go for you? And again, you can feel free, you can put something in the chat, or you can, if you want to speak up, that's your preference, go right ahead and do that. You'll have to unmute yourself, I think. But give me a little bit of feedback. How's it been going for you? Been able to get some practice in, especially the formal. Let's start with the formal. Okay, good. So nightly before sleep. That's a common time that not everybody does, but a lot of times people do that to kind of get settled and get ready for bed and slow down the mind a little bit. And it can help people fall asleep. There's 2 of them. So I've been doing breathing exercises at night before going to bed. 3. So very common in this group. Having the formal practice before coffee makes me fit it in better. Good. So you're linking it to another habitual routine. Very good. Another bedtime. A lot of you are doing it at bedtime. Good. Are you finding that helpful, I wonder, to fall asleep, to kind of settle the mind and the body down? The body scan actually is a good one for getting out of the head and into the body, and to kind of not let those, well, the thoughts are always going to come in, but not let you get carried away with those thoughts. I know for myself, when I wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes I wake up and all of a sudden I'm thinking about some random thing that happened during the day or something I've got to do tomorrow. And I get caught up in that thought loop. And so I do like a little either body scan or breathing, and that helps me kind of interrupt that. We'll be talking about that. Great. Tried while driving, but too distracting. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit coming up. There is a way. When I commuted more, I used to do that all the time. It's not obviously a full meditation, but it is a great way to bring a mindful awareness to what you're doing. And I think can really help us be more present, slow down a little bit, be more aware of what's going on, what we have to react to. I like to take a moment for breathing in the morning before getting out of bed. That's another common time that people do it. We even heard very experienced meditators do that. You can do that with whatever breathing, body scan. You could bring some gratitude to mind. You can be thinking about getting yourself present and ready for the day on a positive note, as you say. During the morning or evening shower, yes. Okay, very good. That's a great way you can integrate sort of the formal and the informal. That's a good informal practice, just to be aware of how the shower feels and not to be, thinking about all the other things that are going on. But you could actually even do the whole full practice in your shower. So very nice. I do think I sleep better when I do my practice at bedtime. Good. It kind of lets activities of the day be done. You can even make that intention to say to yourself, I'm going to put aside the activities of the day. I'm going to let those be. They're in the past. And I'm going to just bring myself to the present right now. Body scan prior to meditation. Good. So you're combining them. I like that. Avoid checking my phone first thing in the morning. Yep, that's one of those habitual things that many of us do. Stand at the window where I get the morning sun and do breathing exercises. Wonderful. Great, great practice like that. All right. So thank you all for those. How about informal practices? Let's just do a quick. I did ask you, you could either have been doing, routine activity, focusing in on that, or um, focusing on pleasant events. Because the reason we ask you to do that is because usually we don't absorb pleasant experiences much. We tend to be more focused on negative or unpleasant experiences. And that triggers automatic reactions. And today's lesson is a lot about that. But I want you to be thinking about what happened is that was nice, that made you, bring a smile to your lips or help you feel a little bit of warmth and ease. And where do you feel it in the body? So anybody try that? Anybody notice some pleasant events and try focusing on that or other informal activities? ABC practices, for example, countries or birds or names. Okay. I mean, you bring up those countries, birds, or names like in alphabetical order. Is that what you're saying? Sounds interesting. How about other informal practices? Yes. Okay. Good. Well, that's a good mental activity. That sounds great. It's not letting the mind go off and wander on its own. Good. Somebody practicing the chocolate raisin eating exercise, smelling the food. Need to work on pleasant experiences. Yes, we all do, because we have a negativity bias. So, curious if anybody else tried the chocolate or raisin eating mindfulness method. I wish I had time to fit that in. You can bring a raisin or some small piece of food and really slowly take it all in, using your senses. That's really what it's all about. All right, somebody mentions the snow. I was thinking about that yesterday. Even the snow is a pain in the neck. It was beautiful to see the snow in the trees and over the land. The color of the sky later in the day was amazing. Yeah, I noticed. I was sitting looking out the window and how beautiful it was as it was coming down and sticking to the trees and all that. And it was gorgeous. But then I had to go outside in it and do some clearing, and actually got hit in the head by a snowball coming off a tree branch. So, you got the pleasant and the unpleasant. It's interesting what happens when the unpleasant happens. Start, all the negative. Wow, why did that happen? How, what a weird coincidence that I got hit like that. Thankfully, I didn't get hurt. I crochet, so that's a good one. I've heard people talk about crocheting and knitting as a good practice while you're doing it, and it can be very kind of put you in a zone, right? Lemons. Oh, I wonder. Do you mean you tried the mindful eating with lemons? That's a tough one, unless you like it. But that's interesting. Good. That could bring up some reactions. See, a lot of this has to do with the senses. Do that with pistachios. That's a good one to do it with. Crossword. Great suggestions. Okay, good. Thank you for these. Love it or grapefruit. Okay. Very good. All right. So lemons or grapefruit. Those are good ones to try it with. So you kind of get the idea. We can do the informal practices with lots of different things, with eating. We talked about walking and other forms of movement. But keep that up. Remember, we're talking about balancing the formal practices with the informal. They really do kind of help us keep the whole practice going. Really important. All right, so let me move on. So today we're going to be talking about the stress cycle and ways to interrupt the stress cycle, bringing on the relaxation response, because when we're stressed, we get a little tense, right? It's the fight or flight. It's really energizing the body. And in some ways, it's not really all that bad. but usually we tend to perceive it as uncomfortable anyways. And so we can bring on the relaxation response and learn to pause to respond rather than react. And the quote kind of says it by Epictetus: we are not troubled by things, but by the opinions we have about things. And again, that also is sort of a mini lesson of what we'll be talking about. Let me just bring this up first, though. Some tips on developing the healthy habit of meditation. And this is from Tara Brach. And this is, there's 8 of them, actually. We've talked about a bunch of them. Practice daily, even for a short time. So if you can't fit in a full 8, 10, 12 minutes, do 2 minutes. It's, frequency is important. Attitude is everything. So try to bring in that attitude of curiosity, attitude of openness, receptivity. Non-judgment is important. So if you find yourself saying, I can't do this, or this is hard to fit it in, or when I do it, it's my mind is like going crazy. We'll talk about that too today. Try not to judge it. Try not to be hard on yourself. Try to just accept it as it is. Notice it. That's a good comment to put in the record form, if it's something like that. Pay attention to your posture. So just take an intentional posture. Arrive in your body. It's a good way. The body is a great home base. So select an anchor. So it could be the body, it could be your breath, or if you prefer something else, it could even be sounds, or it could be the feelings in your hands. It could be another anchor. Sometimes people, this is a slightly different kind of meditation, but you've heard of mantras, I'm sure. Sometimes people use a mantra. That's a form of an anchor. Deepen mindful presence with 2 quick key questions. What is happening inside me right now? And can I be with this? And this we're going to actually do. We'll bring that up in the meditation today. And remember kindness, especially self-kindness. So those are good tips from Tara Brach. Now, there are a lot of relaxation techniques. Some people find the meditations themselves, the breathing, especially deep breathing, very relaxing. There's, as you can see, others that I'm recommending here. I'm not going to go too much into those, but if you do those or try them on an app or on YouTube or something, they can be very helpful in relaxing the mind and the body and interrupting the stress cycle. So do those. They're helpful. But one classic exercise that we use is the stop exercise. And all it really is sort of like what we did in the beginning, but briefer. 1 minute. Sometimes it's called the 1 minute breathing space. So stop, stop and take stock when you're feeling stressed. What's going on right now? Take a mindful breath, or 2 or 3, but just bring your attention to your breath. So you're really feeling the breath. You're not thinking anymore yet about what's going on, but take a deep breath or 2. Then be open and observe. What is my experience? What thoughts do you notice? Feelings, body sensations. And then expand the field of awareness around and beyond your breathing. So you sort of feel the body as a whole, and then proceed. The P is for proceed, or new possibilities. It's sort of like a form of rebooting, resetting the mind, because we can get really caught up in those flurry of thoughts that happen, or emotions. The stop is a great thing to try, or that 3-minute breathing space, when you feel kind of triggered. This is another exercise that you can, and this will be part of our practices next week. The RAIN exercise is, I think of it as something to be used when it's maybe perhaps something that involves a little more of an emotional tangle. And so it's again, another acronym for RAIN is recognize what is happening. So that first step of, I am feeling really anxious about something right now, for example. Usually when that happens, we want to avoid that, get away from it, So the mindful part of it is allow it to be as it is. So instead of, you might notice the wanting to push it away, but allow it to be there. Can I be with this right now? That's kind of what you're saying. The I is to investigate with kindness. Now, we're not investigating solutions or trying to figure it out or analyze it. We're investigating our inner experience, sort of like with the breathing space. What's going on? But just maybe taking a little deeper dive into what's going on internally. And it might involve thoughts, emotions, and body sensations, and all three. And so just kind of take a look at that and try to see what's going on. And maybe it's going to give you some insight. And the end it can be a couple of things, either natural awareness, those three steps bring us back to natural awareness, but they also can bring us to non-identification. Because sometimes when we're in the midst of a stressful experience, we get closely linked to it, we're sort of like tangled up in it, and we think that it's all about me, and why is life doing this to me, or why is that person doing this to me, or why is, we kind of get into that almost like victim stance. So these three steps help us realize that it's not just me. We can de-identify from it. We can step back from it. And the other way to think of it is nurturing. So we're going to talk about that too. We can bring up a sense of being kind to yourself or taking care of yourself when we're going through something that's stressful. So these are just links that you can follow. There's a quick video by John Kabat-Zinn, but also there's a link to Stop if you want to hear a little bit more about that, and then a link to Rain. Tara Brach explains that in that video. It's a longer video, but if you want to hear more about that, those are where you can find it. All right, so what we're getting into now with this lesson is our thinking. And what happens is our thinking can get out of control, right? And if we really follow down some of those thought patterns that are conditioned, it can build up, sort of like in this cartoon. And this is from Tara Brach also. And there's something called Breaking the Worry Addiction that I want to tell you about. But this is from Tara Brach. We realize the incessant stream of our thoughts. They're a nonstop parade of comments, plans, worries. Noticing this has been called seeing the waterfall. Thoughts are part of our ongoing home movie, where the protagonist is moi, this person sitting right here. And it's estimated that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot. I mean, how do they figure that out? But 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95% are the same ones we had yesterday. So a lot of repetitive thought patterns. So we live in this familiar little cocoon, obsessing about the challenges at work, something we did or didn't do, strategizing on how to navigate the day. So as you can see, it can kind of get, really, we can get wrapped up in it. And that's where it causes obsession or rumination. And that's kind of what this poor fella here is feeling like. She goes on to say, mindfulness allows us to awaken, I should say, from what can be described as a prison of thoughts. It helps us to actually recognize thoughts as they're actually happening, so we don't have to get lost inside them. And this enables us to discern, is this particular thought helpful to us or not? And so what we're going to do in the meditation coming up in just a moment is we're going to focus in on thoughts and this idea of trying to be more aware of thoughts without getting engaged in them, without getting tangled up in that thought stream, even if it's a stressful thought. Okay. Mindfulness gives us the opportunity to let them go. So meditation not only gives us the more choice in the moment, research shows that it actually improves cognition. In only 4 days of training, so you've already had that by now, well, almost, but you had practices, it can show enhanced attention, working memory, and executive functioning. So that's from Tara Brach. Some pretty good stuff on thoughts. Now, the worry addiction is, and this is a practice that actually we'll do first before we do the formal practice. The worry addiction is that we begin to worry about the worries that we have. You know, it's sort of like they compound and build on one another. And so the 3 key skills in this practice are becoming mindful of anxious thoughts. Then we drop into the body and become mindful of physical sensations. And then we offer ourselves some comfort or care. So let's do a quick practice. And I'll send this out, by the way, with the slides. So close your eyes and bring to mind something that makes you anxious. Okay. Notice it doesn't have to be anything big. Okay. Maybe mild to moderate. And notice the type of worry thoughts that arise. Might be planning or rehearsing or trying to figure something out or some type of judging. These may take the form of a voice in your head or some visual images. So you might mentally label it to yourself: fear thinking or worry thoughts or planning thoughts or analyzing thoughts. So we're just noticing them, we're labeling them. Now bring your awareness below your neck and notice wherever you feel the most vulnerability in your body. You might sense a little pressure or tightness or heat or tension. Check your throat, chest, neck, belly, maybe. These are areas where sometimes we feel them. And you might come back to the breath, so the breath can help stabilize, relax us. Let your breath be long and slow as we're doing this. And then sense what message might be most comforting. What does your anxious self most need to hear? Perhaps something like, "It's okay, I'm with you," or "That's then and now is now," or "I'm fine in this moment." You might even find that it's helpful to place your hand on your heart as you do this, kind of a gesture of kindness. Or holding your hands together, or even sort of a hug to yourself. And then bring yourself slowly back to your surroundings. Ground yourself, feel your feet, feel the weight of your body in your chair. Take a moment to notice what's changed. And that's the breaking the worry addiction practice. It's pretty quick. You can do this as a practice next week if you want to try it. I'll be giving you, those are good phrases I see in the chat there. Thank you. I'll be sending that if you want to read about it. Next, we're going to do the thought meditation with this cute little cartoon. And as you can see, you know, we can't get rid of thoughts. Thoughts are always there. This is to set this up a little bit. This is from Jack Kornfield, and he talks about developing a wise relationship to thought. So he says you might find yourself considering thinking as an adversary, the unwanted interruption to a good meditation. But this is a misunderstanding. Thinking is natural. Our minds secrete thoughts just like our body secretes enzymes. Thoughts are essential for us to communicate, to design buildings, to write poetry, treat disease, contemplate what we most value. In mindfulness training, we're not trying to stop thinking. Rather, we're trying to cultivate a wise relationship with thoughts. Whereas I've also heard it to kind of develop a way to manage our thoughts. And this becomes especially important when we're dealing with thoughts or beliefs that are negative or undermining. There's a saying, thoughts make a good servant, but a poor master. The beliefs that run through our minds about ourselves or others are often painfully limiting stories. As Mark Twain put it, my life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. So that's kind of just an intro into this thought meditation. So this might take a little bit longer than maybe we'll do like 10, 11 minutes on this because this is kind of important. And I'm going to leave some spaces because I want you to be able to be thinking a little bit. I'll still give you instructions as we go along. There will be some moments of silence so that you'll be able to kind of notice what thoughts arise. All right. So let's begin. So as we often do, find a position you might adjust, take a moment to be kind to yourself. I mean, it is, yesterday was Valentine's Day, so we had a good day. But find a position that's really comfortable. Take time to find that position that's comfortable, but also where you can be alert and pay attention. If it feels like you're going to fall asleep, you might want to keep your eyes open, like maybe with a soft gaze down in front of you. Or if you're fine with closing your eyes completely, you can do that. And let's just begin by kind of settling ourselves, maybe feeling our body in the chair, feeling the weight of our body, feeling the sit bones, the lower part of our torso, feeling our feet on the floor, feeling the body as a whole, quickly scanning through. If there is any obvious tension, just notice it and then maybe try to consciously soften that area a little bit. And then notice the body breathing. And just feel the breath flowing in and out. You don't have to do anything special. Although if you want to take a couple of deeper breaths, if that helps, go right ahead and do that. We're sort of gathering our attention as we do this, establishing the anchor or home base of the breath and the body. And now, just notice for a moment, just be aware of what thoughts are present. Now, remember, our minds secrete thoughts like glands secrete hormones. Just become aware of your thoughts. What thoughts are here right now? Are they images, words, or simply just there? Observe your thoughts. Let them come and go as mental events. And you can choose to step back from them and just observe. Don't attach to them. Let them pass by as if they're a cloud going by in the sky, or a leaf drifting away on a stream. But if you find yourself carried away in thought, that's okay. You can disengage with that thought chain and return to the breath if you get really kind of carried away. But for now, we're just kind of keeping a little bit of distance so that we're aware of thoughts. We're kind of like standing by the river of our thoughts, standing on the bank of the river, watching the thoughts flow down the river. We're not trying to fish them up. We're not trying to engage them. We're just watching them. You can see the thought, but don't be the thought. And notice how some thoughts capture your attention and carry you away. And that's okay. When you notice that, become aware of the last thought in the chain without getting pulled into the storyline. And some thoughts are very neutral. There's no emotional content. And sometimes thoughts may turn you away and repel you. See if you can notice how a thought affects you. And see if you can touch the thought and let it go without getting caught up in it. If certain thoughts are bothering you, you can use a phrase, sort of like a mantra, something like let go or let it be, and focus on the breath. We can retrain our whole mental attitude by first learning to recognize these patterns, perhaps even calmly naming them, simply as planning or remembering or fantasizing or liking or disliking, worrying or dwelling. Once we recognize them, we can remind ourselves that they're just visiting. They're not essentially who we are. We couldn't stop them from visiting, but we can let them go, even if they return many times. And we don't have to invite them to move in. And we don't have to blame ourselves for their coming. We can learn to let them go. And we can choose to nurture and stay with the thoughts that are helpful and let go of the ones that are not. And even if unpleasant thoughts hijack us, we can step back from them, simply observing their nature, and when we're ready, letting them go and returning to the breath, using the breath as an anchor to the present moment. Now let's reconnect with the breath. I'm going to go into one last part of this meditation, but let's stabilize, maybe feel the breath, feel the body as we sit. remaining curious to our experience. And if it's okay, bring to mind a stressor that you can get in touch with. Again, nothing big, and just bring it to mind and kind of get in touch with it. And you might notice, again, what thoughts arise when you think about this stressor, what feelings it brings up. And then, like we did, feel it in the body. See where you notice it showing up in the body. And we're going to say these simple phrases. This is stress. Stress is a part of life. And may I find ease. And stay connected to sensations in the body and continue to breathe. And asking yourself, what's happening right now? And then, can I be with this? Notice internally, connect to sensations. And you might even ask yourself a third question: how can this sensation of stress in the body be helpful to me? Perhaps there's an opportunity to release tension or an area of life that needs more attention, or something or someone who needs attending to. Just notice. And again, we'll come back, letting that go. We'll come back to the breath and the body. And we all want to feel better, even in the midst of stress. So we've chosen to do this meditation. So give yourself credit and appreciation for that, and express gratitude to yourself for your efforts. And when you're ready, we'll finish the practice. First, noticing how you are right now. And slowly, gradually rising from the meditation, you can open your eyes. And you might want to move a little bit, stretch, move the fingers, the feet, whatever feels helpful. And again, thank yourself for doing the practice. And may you have ease. May you find ways to cope with stressful events. This poet, woman hijack, I'm not probably pronouncing that right, says it this way: 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. All right, so let me know what you thought about that. I'm curious to know what your experience was. Feel free to put that in the chat. I'm going to move on because we only have a few minutes left. But please put a word or two about what that was like. This is different, Thich Nhat Hanh, the late Thich Nhat Hanh, Zen master, describes it this way: the mind is like a television set with hundreds of channels. Which channel will you turn on? Usually we're so focused on the dramatic story being told that we don't notice that there's always consciousness that receives it. Through mindfulness, we learn to recognize which channel is playing, and we can learn to change the channel. The stories, the states, of mind, recognizing that all states are simply appearances in our consciousness. So, a lot of good stuff on this. It's really important. It is important as to how we process and our relationship to stress. And we can then begin to learn to change our mindset to stress. And there's a TED talk here that I would encourage you to watch from Kelly McGonigal, but it has a lot to do with our beliefs about stress, which of course are related to our thought patterns. So, believe in the TED talk, briefly, she talks about that, most people believe that stress is harmful to the health. And yes, it can be chronic, unrelenting stress that is difficult to change. They have no control over, can be very, very difficult. But what they did was they taught people that there are ways to get better at stress and to do just that, to kind of change the channel, change your relationship to it, to change your mindset, your thoughts, your thinking about stress, to not view it as negative or harmful or something to get away from, but to view it as something that is sort of a signal to the body and something that you can do something about. And it actually can even give you energy and can change that stressful negative feeling to more of what they call the challenge response, where you feel challenged and you feel energized and you can actually do something. So they teach people how to get better at stress. And when they did that, they found that people not only had a better emotional response to stress, a better sense of well-being, but they actually had a better cardiovascular profile. So made the whole physical response to stress better. So pretty cool stuff. Now, simple ways that you can build a positive mindset, because we do have this negativity bias, but we can change the mind. We have neuroplasticity. That's what that means. The more we focus on something, when we focus on more positive things, we are actually creating changes in the brain. And essentially what we practice becomes stronger. So simple practices like gratitude, there's been a bunch of studies on gratitude and how it can provide all these benefits that I've listed here. There's a video there if you want to watch a little bit more about it, but a simple gratitude practice, bringing to mind anything on a regular basis. It's just like our meditation practice. It helps to do it with some regularity. It helps to write it down. It doesn't have to be super long, but it helps us to be in touch with it more. It helps us to focus more on the positive. Another related practice is the 3 good things practice, which is kind of at the end of the day or at the end of your workday, instead of mulling over the things that didn't go so well, think about 3 good things that did happen. Don't have to be big things, just 3 simple things that happened during the day. Write them down if you can. Maybe text them to somebody if you have sort of somebody, family, friend, somebody, work buddy that you can text it to, share it with. Do that. That's the important part of it. That's a good way to turn again to the positive. All right, so what they found in the study when they did this is that people who did this for up to 2 weeks had a lasting effect of up to 6 months of better sense of well-being and happiness. So really pretty strong effects from this. So I know we're getting just about a minute or 2 over it, but just finish these slides up, just getting to the end here. William James, the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Basically what we've been talking about. And then also, if you can change your mind, you can change your life. So here are the practices, daily practices. The formal practices, you can try the rain, that can be a formal practice, or the thought meditation, or the break the worry the worry habit meditation. The 3-minute breathing space is recommended as a regular practice. Try it daily if you can, in response to a stressor, or even just as a regular routine practice, so you kind of get the hang of it. And then the informal practice could be the stop practice, but also process unpleasant events. So I want you to be aware of when something negative or unpleasant happens, what immediately comes up, what thoughts, feelings, body sensations come up, and recognizing that we have a choice in that moment. So noticing unpleasant events. So you'll get these slides later today, and there's going to be a couple of other links that you can go into if you want to read more. And then these are the links to the meditation. But hopefully they're having good ways to find ways to do these. And that's it for today. So thank you so much, everybody. I see your thank yous in there. Appreciate your messages of thanks. And I thank you for being here. And do let me know if you have any questions. Do write down if you have any things you want to bring up next week, or just reach out to me. Let me know. Happy to answer anything and help you on your mindful journey. So I'm going to stop the recording, and then I will hang on for a couple of minutes if you have any questions.